G'day everyone and welcome to episode 30 of the Battleforged Gaming podcast, brought to you by General Gameschirnside Park. Today we've got Jimmy D and of course BFG Mark.
How's it going?
And we'll be chatting about some painting competitions,
Yes.
indie games, and basically what we've been up to.
And painting clubs.
And the painting clubs. If you find this podcast helpful or you enjoy it, please give us a like, share, and a subscribe. It goes a long, long way. I think we're getting less than 10% of people actually clicking the like button on stuff. So they're watching it, but they're not clicking the like button. Please click the like button. It helps so much. With that done, what have you been up to, Mark? We'll start with Mark, as always. Tyranids, probably?
Tyranids, yeah. So I haven't actually been doing a lot of painting since last time because I got my partner moving in. So there's been a lot of moving around of furniture and stuff in the house.
Yeah.
But I've now got a larger desk, so I'm going to finally have a paints area specific
Dedicated
for my
paint
models.
area.
Yes.
Big news.
Yes,
It's so helpful.
It is going to be helpful. I'm currently working on a desk that's like this big, and just my monitor takes up most of that room. So then I have to like move all my keyboard, everything out of the way. So now I can literally just have one side for my Warhammer, like a section for my Warhammer, have my PC section, and then like my trading cards and stuff can go on the shelf that it has. So it's exciting. I need it.
You'll find that you hobby so much more when you don't have to just drag out paints and brushes.
Yeah, exactly. So that, and then right in time, obviously, that should be for once we sort of start getting settled in after next week. So a lot of goals and Christmas break coming up. So perfect time. I can just go on my desk and paint through the holiday break.
Yeah. Well, we'll be looking for some help over the holiday break as well. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what have you been up to? I mean, for those that don't know, we met at Victorious. So
Yeah, at the Box Hill Town Hall.
The Box Hill Town Hall event that we participated in. Jimmy participated in as well.
You guys were running the paint and take, which was awesome to see.
Yeah.
I thought, what a positive, enthusiastic group. I should hang out with them more. And I was there with the Figure Painting Collective, which is a group of us that paint minis and get together in Melbourne and talk about it in Discord. Doing a little bit of our own painting there.
The pro painters, competition painting.
Some of us.
Yeah.
I've got similar excuses for what I've done because we're moving house at the moment as well.
Oh, okay.
I used to have that setup, which was one of those big wood benches from Bunnings, just 3 meters wide, and that was my paint setup, and it was heaven.
That's a lot bigger than what I've got.
It was the whole length of the second room in my apartment. My poor partner. It's like, this is where I work and where I play, and you can have the bedroom and the couch with the TV in the front room. I had a whole room set up, but not at the moment. So not a heap of hobbying. The most recent thing I did was, I won't say skaven, because it's not IP infringing. It's a ratkin artificer or something.
I can actually show people.
Yeah.
So this is the guy we're talking about here. Sort of like an engine seer, I think. Are they called? No, what are they called? Are they called engines?
A very tech-oriented rat.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got a big sniper rifle. That was fun. Yeah, with Skaven tied out, everyone's jazzed about Skaven. And it's really nice when you got a piece that you had done some work on, just lost interest or hadn't finished it.
Yeah.
And then I always find when you pick those models up again, 3 hours in, they're done.
Yeah.
It's always closer than you thought it was. You just lose momentum. And that was that rat. It's really cool. I was trying to do non-metallic metal, so make it look shiny with really bright white spots without actually using metallic paint. So that's something I haven't done a lot. So speaking of nerdy things that paint club people try is effects and lighting and this and that. So that was good. And I brought along a little bust I had done quickly. It was a few months ago though, so I'm kind of stretching on the what have you been doing recently. But it was a fun piece because I was pretty bogged down in painting, and we could talk about it later about being cheap in painting and saving your best pieces for some other time. So to try and break that, I went and got a 3D print for $5 and printed out like 5 of them and smashed that out on a Sunday afternoon.
That's 3D printed?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was one of the purchase ones. So for people that can see that on the screen, I'd say he's about 5 centimeters tall, 50 mil tall, or 2 inches. It's not that big. In the pictures, yeah, like I was saying when you brought it in, they look so much larger. They always intimidate me, busts.
And the paint quality is insane on it.
Yeah, the blends. Yeah.
Just don't look at the back. If you see the 360 I did on Instagram, it kind of stops halfway and goes back the other way. So when you've only got 4 hours, you can do the face and the front, but there's no time for all parts of the model.
Yeah.
That was done in 4 hours.
6. I picked it up again Monday night.
6 is still fantastic. I don't
Yeah,
think
it
I'd
was
get base
good.
coats done in 6 hours.
Have you painted any busts before?
Never.
Any bigger scale?
Never.
You interested in trying?
My
Yeah.
my old housemate used to try and get me into busts all the time. I was like, I don't know. There's something for me that I just enjoy painting armies.
Yeah.
So that's
I'd
the
give
thing
it a
that
crack
always.
as long as it didn't have skin.
If it didn't have skin.
Yeah.
You don't want to do skin?
Nah.
Why not?
Nah, it's not. That's
I suppose
not my
busts
thing.
are really good for trying like different sort of techniques on, because they are a little bit larger than an actual model, so you can.
Yeah. If on a 32mm model, you've got like 3mm of face, and there's really only enough room for a white and a wash or something. On a bust, you've got a lot more room to play.
Yeah,
Have you got it up on screen there?
I do. Yeah, I showed people
Because-
your little.
I bought 2 others. When I set up, printed 5 of them.
Oh damn, we got gifts.
Oh, wow.
I gave one of them
Thank you.
away when we were at Victorious.
Yep.
There was a guy that said, "Man, where do you find this stuff?" And I said, "Here's a spare one I brought just in case." And I've got 2 more spares.
Well, now I'm going to
So,
have to paint skin.
I think
You've
now you're going to have to paint them.
taken me out of my comfort zone, and now I'm going to have to paint skin.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go down the route of non-metallic metal, but I'll give it a go.
If you guys want to have a crack, I can come back in a couple of months and we can put a little rod up their butt and put them on a plinth as well. Yeah, a lot of the plinths, if you can see it in the photo, I got a bit of dowel from Bunnings, 40mm dowel,
Yeah.
2 meters, and you just cut it up in 2-inch pieces and put a bit of black paint on it, and you just save yourself a lot of money buying Green
That's
Stuff
awesome.
World plinths. So it's a gift to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, dude.
It's
Thank you.
part of my plan of coming here is just subvert your whole usual theme. It's like, how can I argue for something that's very far from 40k is small skirmish games?
Man, everyone does it too. Like every time Kieran comes in or Imsy came in, they're like, "You're gonna do some Horus Heresy stuff?" I was like, "Oh my god!
Yeah, so I want to come here and make you paint big scale and think about skirmish games.
If only I could do this stuff full time, and then I would be able to. I'd be able to commit to it. I'd be able to commit to it." Yeah, so that's super cool. Super cool. Fantastic models. We'll show off some more of your models a bit later on. I've got pics of the
Sure.
Sons of Medusa as well,
Yeah, they're fun.
because they're the ones we saw at Victorious.
Yep.
You took those to Arc.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we talk about painting events, there's Arc Fest and Arc Opens, the painting competition that hangs out next to a pretty big 40k and some other stuff in a big event.
Yep.
And I took some of them up to Canberra last year to Crimson Brush.
Yep.
I've got a funny story about almost winning the crowd favourite or almost cheating my way into it, but I felt too bad, so we can get back to that.
Sheesh. Cheating in painting comps. Look out. What have I been up to? I've been painting the charity model.
Yeah.
So finished the Night Lord and we're on to the Raven Guard. I've nearly finished him. So I can't remember at last podcast if I'd started the Raven Guard or not. Maybe.
You were pretty much finished the Night Lord. You were very close to finishing the Night Lord.
Yeah,
on
gee,
the
I've
last
done
one.
him pretty quick then.
Yeah.
The Raven Guard. Because I'll be doing metallics on tonight's stream. So.
Yeah, I've done a lot of hours on him, but
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, that's what I've been up to. And this coming Monday, we're starting the cleanup at House of War. For
It's exciting.
For the dedicated area for Battleforged Gaming. So there's going to be a fair bit of work involved in that. But that's why I was saying Mark's looking forward to doing some painting over the holidays. I'm going to be like, hey man, do you want to come? You want to come hang some plaster with me?
that's
Do you want
right.
to come hang some plaster?
You have a
Make-
space
make
upstairs
some-
there.
Yeah. So where the old sales area was, we're going to have an area that we're going to sort of renovate, put some nice digital prints on some walls, have a logo up there. We're really going to clean it up, and we'll be able to host some events there, hopefully.
It's
Like
exciting.
small scale events, but still, yeah.
That's good because I've got
Looking
small
forward to it.
scale games. So
Oh, here we
Yeah.
go.
if you haven't got a lot of time to knock out a battle report,
We'll see. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Charity model and getting ready for this cleanup.
so has the Raven Guard been most of this week? Or are you 2 weeks in on that guy?
Yeah. So last fortnight we had Nath in on the podcast, and I think I just had the metallics to do. So
you were very close to finishing it.
yeah, in
Yeah.
like 13 days, I've nearly done the Raven Guard. But loyalists are my thing, right? They've got less highlights to do because they don't have all the inner trim highlights and that type of stuff. It's my happy place. And there's no recess shade on the black armor either.
Are you going into the base after the Raven Guard?
Yeah, so I've got to do some routing on the base. I've got a plinth.
Yeah.
Got a nice square plinth that I purchased, and I'm gonna get a Dremel and just hack into it.
Where did you get the plinth from?
I got it from House of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Pre-made one.
Green Stuff World one.
Yeah, a nice pre-made.
They're really nice. I bought out House of War when they had the little round ones. I
Yeah.
took the last two or something.
Yeah. Nah, so yeah, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be scary having a nice square plinth that I could just put two guys on and look really cool, and then just getting adrenaline and just trying to turn it into a battlefield. We'll see.
You'll do it.
Yeah.
Tune into the stream this week to see that.
So I won't do the Dremel work on stream. That'll just cause the biggest mess. I'll take that to my work.
Outside.
I'll take that to my work tomorrow and do it, I think. But the rest of the work of the plinth I'll do, like putting on all the texture paint and trying to find some nice pieces of terrain I can sort of just plonk in the texture paint and
What are you thinking?
Tell a story.
City rubble, forest?
I was thinking of forest.
Okay.
I was thinking foresty because it's not something I've ever done before. So I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and I know that with all the green stuff, the gamer's grass tufts,
Yeah.
I can hide a lot of stuff if it doesn't work that way I want it to. So I can get some nice little plants and be like, oh, this area is not good. Here's a few different coloured tufts. But yeah, if I can, hopefully it'll tell a story. That's my plan. I want it to look. I don't want it to look like it's just two guys jumping at each other. I want the diorama to be like, the Night Lords killed this guy's battle brother, and then the Raven Guards come in, and I want to try and hide some melter bombs on the plinth so it looks like there's like a trap set up. But who set it up?
I'm going to swing in here and make Paint Club people sound very pretentious, but I do agree with you that when it's two stock models just kind of pointing at each other, it doesn't feel like a very interactive diorama. So if you can make them touch each other in some way, it's a lot more interesting.
Yeah, well, I think hopefully this story touches them because they physically won't be near each other, but yeah.
But that Night Lord's just so dynamic, diving, flying with the weapon.
Yeah.
That'll look good.
Harken's such a cool base to like convert a Lord off. You could do any Chaos Legion and use Harken as a base for a jump pack.
Yep.
Lord, even though they came out with a new one, you could even use bits of the new one with Harken. Because I think he's a little bit bigger. Like, he's a big model. I didn't realise how large he was until you put him next to a Primaris Marine. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough about me. So, how did we discover hobby? How did you get into hobby? Or was it painting? Yeah, how did you get into hobby?
A lot of what I do is play board games, and they also sometimes have miniatures to paint.
Yeah.
So that's probably half of my interest is board gaming and miniatures there, and I painted a few there, but I was touching 40k 20 years ago, I think.
Right.
I have a strong memory of going out to my friend from middle school at the time, and his older brother had Warhammer, and it was old Saurus warriors. I remember they had on their pool table, which is great because it's already green felt, it looks like grass. So no one needed a 6x4 playmat 20 years ago. They all just had pool tables.
And it would be really good to roll dice on too, a pool table.
That's literally how we played when I first played as well, on a pool table.
And his older brother had ziggurats, pyramids. I'm sure it was just squares of foam, spray painted tan, and Saurus. And that's, I think, my first memory of exposure to Warhammer. And so I can blame his older brother forever now for all the money I spend on this.
Yeah.
But then I only really got back into it and have been really painting for 6 or 7 years now. So everyone jokes about having that high school break. Mm-hmm. And I wish it was one of those cool high school breaks for girls, but it was mostly to play a lot of League of Legends and Dota.
Yeah.
that was my uni years.
That's still pretty cool. League of Legends is all right.
Yeah, I think I played more League of Legends than I did Dota. But Steam tracks your hours.
Yes.
And I was 1,700 hours or something in Dota, so I didn't even want to know what I was in League of Legends. A lot of time there. And I got back into painting a couple of years after I was settled in my apartment. Moved out of home, mid to late 20s. Like, I need a creative outlet or something to do. I've seen everything on Netflix. And then I started to turn my second bedroom into this big workshop for 3D printing in the corner and a big paint bench and a permanent setup for your airbrush, that's really nice. At the moment, when I want to varnish something or pull out the airbrush, it's a lot of work. And it's on the kitchen bench. So
Yeah.
so having that permanent setup is
Yes.
a real luxury.
Yeah, we actually talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Having permanent setups for stuff. And I think unless you've got a permanent setup, you don't... I mean, I suppose you can understand because you were saying the airbrush. I just have the same thing. I've had an airbrush for ages. I just never use it because I'm like, all right, I've got to get it out from underneath the bookshelf. I've got to plug it in. And now I've got to like make sure it works. And like, oh, God forbid you haven't cleaned it out properly and then it doesn't work. So then you've got to clean it before you use it. And it's just...
if you're time poor as well, you think about how long it's going to take to get to that stage. Like I've been working a lot of hours and by the time I get home and I'm like, all right, I've got to unpack these paints, get these models out, do this. I'm going to have like 15 minutes by the time I unpack everything to paint. And it's like, it's going to take me longer to put everything away than it is that I'm going to get to
There's
paint.
a lot of people that are in the hobby that are neuro-spicy and it can just be that. And it'd be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not doing it.
Or
Yeah.
Lord forbid you forgot to clean it properly. There's a little bit of varnish or something. It's 25 minutes cleaning and then you're just crying. You're like, so yeah, six or 7 years painting pretty seriously. But about a year and a half ago, when Squidmar came to town, he was here for Arc Open 2023, early 2023, like April. And that was when I took the best pieces I had then down. Got it commended on one of them, which was cool to see, and then went back and painted hard again for this year and competitions earlier this year.
Yeah. So, and one of those competition pieces were the Sons of Medusa,
Yes,
which I will show the people next.
I had a friend that convinced me to split Leviathan with him, and he took the Tyranids and I took the Space Marines. So that would have been 2 years ago, 18 months ago.
Probably about 18 months.
Yeah.
And a little before that, I had finally committed to an airbrush.
Okay.
So for like 5 years, I was like, oh, these things are expensive and they're always cleaning and breaking. And that's true, but they're really good. It
They
just
are.
is a game changer.
Yeah.
And because I had the airbrush, I could do neon bright colours that felt like without 10 coats that goes gluggy and just looks terrible. So that's what the Sons of Medusa were. They were sort of a experiment in what's the brightest I can do now that I have an airbrush.
Yeah.
And they started off looking, or the Dreadnought looks like a tennis ball, just a big bright tennis ball.
Do you know,
And-
I was going to say the opposite thing. Because I've got the Dreadnought up right now.
Yeah.
The Ballistus Dread is tough to make look good. Because like you're saying, it's got this static pose. It's just
Yeah.
standing there. But...
I've even changed the pose a little bit. The back leg is kicking outwards a bit.
Yeah,
but
it looks
It
good.
doesn't fix it. It turns out Dreadnoughts need arms to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, I still like him, man. Like the fire platform, it doesn't suit my Blood Angels. It does suit different armies more. It suits the Sons of Medusa because they're Iron Hand
Iron
successors.
Hand successor.
With these greens, talk me through these greens here because they are super bright. What was your base? What did you prime it with first?
A really dark green, and that's how I can tell you that. What was it? AK interactive paints are not great through the airbrush.
Okay.
Clogged up all the time. It was like a forest green,
No.
really dark green, like British racing green, and you just hit the whole thing. And then I came in with Scorpion green, Escorpo, they're the classic, and from just the top and a little bit from the sides with the airbrush. So you're getting the really good volumes. If you turned it upside down, it would still look very dark. But when you look at it, you can start to see the transition on things like the shins. And then I came in directly from above with... I was going to say it's a funny story, but it's not. It's a nerdy story. But I went to a yellow, and then the first yellow I used was Avalanche Sunset. And I'm like, well, this will be brighter.
Like a mustard yellow.
I'm like, I was using a green, and yellow is brighter than green. And it wasn't. It was just the same tone, but muddy. So the first couple squads I did, I don't like them anymore. I took them to the paint competition the last year, and they had sort of a grey base and those fluoro blue and pink tufts you can get.
Yeah. The ones that he's
They're
using
on my
his-
nids.
They're not well regarded in painting competitions.
Okay.
But I loved them at the time. That was a kill team. I pulled them together as a kill team out of the heavy intercessors because they're such a great squad.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the tacti-cool element that Space Marines are going into.
Yeah.
You probably don't. You like the Gothic Blood Angels.
It suits certain armies better. It definitely suits certain armies better. What they did to the Sangard I'll never forgive them. They went too tactical, but
The baby wings.
yeah. Oh man, they look so. Anyway, I think the new for the most part the heavy intercessors and regular intercessors and even the phobos they look fantastic.
I really like the phobos.
But
Yeah.
if you're doing specialist units that are dedicated to specific chapters, stick to the chapter. Like they nailed Deathwing Knights, they nailed companions for the Dark Angels.
Yeah.
Like the Dark Angel stuff, the Black Templar Sword Brethren. It's really only the Sangard they sort of dropped the ball on a little bit. They sort of went a bit too far down the tactical. But that's I've had a rant about that before.
I like raptors as well. They're very tactical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Phobos armor really suits Raptors
Really
and the
good.
Raven Guard. Yeah.
So I fixed my mustard yellow.
Yep.
I figured out Avaland is not actually brighter than Scorpion Green because I'm close to a Metro Hobbies. It's really good. When you need 10-minute break from work, I can ride around the corner and be in a Metro Hobbies and be shopping for paint.
That's
so
good,
I do
yeah.
that sometimes during the week, and I went down and was looking at the range, and Vallejo's new 3rd gen, they got the clear bottle, so the colour you see is the colour it is. It's a really nice paint range, and I got the pistachio green or bile green is what it's called, and it is just really, really... Oh, sorry, yellow. Pistachio yellow. I think it's pistachio green or bile yellow, and it's really bright.
Yep.
So that's what I ended up going with. It really pops on the edge highlights. And yeah, I think I said in your stream the other day is that with an airbrush, and especially with Space Marines, if you do sort of from underneath and from the side and from the top, you can be 80% of the way there if you just want to do the metallics or do some edge highlights.
Yeah, you don't have to go box art like I do with my stuff. It's a little bit wild trying to paint an army to box art, but like you're saying, with an airbrush, you can get the base coats done super, super fast. You start to block in some of the base colors, and you're pretty much there.
I eventually want to get one just for being able to do shading. I want to have dimension on my Tyranids, and just with a brush, to do it with a brush is going to take way too long. So that's why it's just like base coat, wash, highlights for Tyranids. Good enough, but I'd like to be able to step it up to the next level where it's like you can tell that underneath the carapace is the darker pink to where light's going to hit it kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll just help you if there's areas you want to do a glow on.
Yeah.
And look, doing a hand glaze in the end, in the long run, looks better, but it does take so much more time.
Yeah.
And if you're doing an army, it's probably worth looking at the airbrush. And you don't need to get the super expensive ones. Start off with a cheaper intro grade one and then work your way up. Like I'll be doing.
Started with the Iwata Neo, $120, I think, and I munted it. I think I just was too rough cleaning it. When you take the cap off and look at the nozzle, it looked like one of those cartoon blunderbusses where the end had split out like this. And I'm like, okay, that was my bad. I shouldn't be using a pin to try and clean out.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Eclipse, which is 220 or something, and I've never had a problem with clogging. It used to clog all the time. But there's ones that are a lot cheaper than 120.
For
and
sure.
I think if you're better at maintenance than me, it wouldn't be such an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Cleaning them out is the most important thing. Like it really, really is.
Yeah.
Might be worth getting a what are they called? It always skips my mind. The
The vibrating bath.
Yeah, that's the one. someone will comment on YouTube. It always gets me. You can get them from Kmart. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're made for like makeup brushes and stuff, but it's still really good.
I've heard don't put isopropyl alcohol in it.
I've seen people do it. I wouldn't put it all ISO. I'd maybe put like 10% ISO in, and then you'll be okay. Yeah. So you've been back in the hobby for 6 years, painting real hard.
Yeah. I'll say paying attention really well for a year or two because I don't get as much time at the desk to say I paint really hard, but trying to paint things more to a competition level. I think at some point a lot of people say, I'm actually not getting that many games in. So maybe instead of full armies, I'll just paint a little bit less but take it to a high quality. There's definitely a path you can go down, which I definitely did. I play 0 Warhammer.
Yeah.
And if it's just going to sit on the shelf, it doesn't do much for me to be battle ready, as Games Workshop would say. So spending a bit more time And for me, that is the hobby as much as gaming is the painting. So taking time in the painting and doing it to a higher level.
Well, that's working out what type of hobbyist you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
Like, we don't game that much. I've always wanted to have a really high level army to game with, but we get a heap of painting done. And I guess my level of painting could go towards like competition stuff. Like, it would only be a few steps to go into the competition area and take my time, but I love armies too much. So that's like, people often are like, oh, you should enter a Golden Demon. That'd be cool one day, maybe. It's a little bit of a trouble for an Australian to go to a Golden Demon of any type. It would be an experience in itself, but I just enjoy painting armies too much. Or even like little squads of Necromunda. I suppose that's where I get my higher level of painting done, is on the smaller Necromunda, a kill team or a Warcry or Underworlds, that type of stuff.
You paint very close to heavy metal style. Like in some of the competitions where they split it masters and standard, I think you would be gold level on the standard paint jobs for sure.
I'm the gold standard.
The gold standard in standard. That puts a bit of a tint on it at the end, doesn't it? But man, I've seen you spend like a week on a rhino and just getting all the things so neat. I think there's a lot of value in that, as well as doing more artsy stuff.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's just finding your paint styles too. Yeah. And it takes you to start your journey and then fight, like, because when I first started, I sort of had an idea of where I wanted to go with how I was getting into the hobby. I knew I wanted to play games and roll dice, but I knew I wanted to have painted armies. I didn't know what level I wanted my armies to be painted. It was, at the time, it was just like, I'll paint them as good as I can for an army, because you can't go all out if you're going to paint an army. You got to draw the line somewhere. There has to be a little bit of a line somewhere, because otherwise you won't get an army painted. Like 20 hours is a long time when an intercessor, but I still get stuff done because I paint a lot. Whereas there's people that like the idea of having what I try and achieve, but they don't understand how much time's involved. Yeah. Like it's a ton of time.
I finished my Sons of Medusa, and it's just is Battle Force the right term for 40k?
Probably Combat Patrol, maybe.
Combat Patrol. It's more or less a Combat Patrol, and I did that in under 2 years, and I was pretty chuffed. I'm like, wow, I got my first full army together. But if you needed it for an event or you actually played a lot, 2 years is a ridiculous amount of time to spend just getting 30 models together.
I've been doing it for 4 years. I'll go to an event one day. 4 years in the making.
Something I didn't mention about back when I was 13 or 14 is I did have an Eldar army. And
are we talking about the new stuff that's come out?
It's really nice. I saw the reveals this weekend.
Wow.
Wild.
The Phoenix Lord of the Spiders.
Oh, yeah, really
nice.
That
is one of the best models I've ever seen. Crazy.
I told you. Your next army is going to be Eldar. I said that, remember?
Jimmy's thought he's come in to get us back into painting busts and stuff. But we're getting him into Warhammer.
Yeah, they said it's been 20 years since there was warp spider models.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
That is ages.
Yeah, I think that was almost the case for all of the Aspect Warriors. It's nutty.
The Scorpions came out a year ago or something.
Yeah, and they've slowly started doing them, but like the Fire Dragons, I think are the same as the warp spiders. So still haven't seen Karandras either. The Striking Scorpion Phoenix Lord.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I feel very ungrateful because, these things have 20 years between when new models come out, and then the Striking Scorpions came out and I went, they're just kind of green and flat. Although I will say I really like the Swooping Hawks. That sort of...
I like the Scorpions just because they look like green predators.
I've always liked the Scorpions. The Swooping Hawks, when I saw them and they were showing off all of the Aspect Warriors they've released, I was like, yeah, they're okay. Like, they've hit the mark with them. Like, they've essentially just re-sculpted them. They look cool. Baroth's cool, the Phoenix Lord.
Yeah.
It's a good way to say they're really vanilla. He's like, they hit the mark with them. They're definitely Swooping Hawks.
No, yeah. So they re-sculpted them. They looked how they used to. I thought they might do a little bit more with them. but they didn't sanguinary guard them. So I think that's a bonus.
They didn't butcher them. They did what they needed to
Yeah.
with them, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty much. Yeah.
You know what? Someone should give Heavy Metal Studio an airbrush, and they can put little purple underneath and make them more interesting.
Imagine if heavy metal guys could use an airbrush if they're allowed to.
I think they do.
You reckon?
Airbrushes. I've heard they use other brand of paints. They just don't,
Heresy.
They just don't say it. And I'm pretty sure that
they heavily edit their photos too.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure they use wet palettes. It's a tool I find very important.
Yeah,
But
Games
because Games
Workshop
Workshop
don't sell them. They're
doesn't
not-
sell one, they can't show it in any of their painting videos. Not that Heavy Metal does their painting videos. It's a different studio team.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
chain the good painters to the basement.
I actually saw one of them got free. One of the heavy metal painters. Yeah, he's now in the design team.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's leveled up.
So he's in a different basement.
Yeah. yeah. No, I think he's gone up one flight of stairs and he's hanging out with Darren Latham now. Yeah.
He has windows now.
Drew Palace, I think, a French guy. His stuff's awesome. I follow so many heavy metal painters.
You can link me his Instagram later.
I can. I will. Yeah, I will. So, yeah, competition painting. What, do you beat Dave Colwell in a painting comp?
In I don't want to brag or anything, but
No, well, that's why you're here.
at Arc
Brag away.
Open, I was in the same tier as David. I got a silver
Yep.
for one of my pieces. So that's the best I've ever done. In Arc Open, it's part of Arc Fest. So here in Melbourne, they have a really big. It's everything. It's 40K, Age of Sigmar. There's
Yep.
some Necromunda.
There is Necromunda. Yep.
They have Marvel Crisis Protocol. This year they were at Sandown Raceway, so they
Yeah,
took up a couple of
Yeah, I
them.
think they're there next year as well. And Mitch, who was on the podcast, was there doing tattoos as well. Yeah. Did you get a tattoo from him?
No, but it was really funny seeing some of the people who got prizes in the painting competition. He donated vouchers. So you get a guy go up for a prize who's just 0 tattoos, and they say, here's $700 voucher, I'll see you soon. And the panic that sets into their eyes when they're sort of obligated to go and get a tattoo now.
I'd be standing next to him and be like, look, if you don't want it, I'll give you $100 cash for it.
There's good-
And then just get all these vouchers for Mitch and just use them all at once. It'd be sick.
So yeah, I was very fortunate, and just to be clear, not as good as David Caldwell. There are tiers to the game, and I was very fortunate, I think, to scrape into silver. I was thrilled with that piece. It's hard to compete.
Yep.
I definitely can't sit here and be like, part of the painting competition, guys, I'm the greatest, when Dave Caldwell is there. And if you don't know him, go and look at his Instagram.
Yeah.
But just cherish him as a human being. I was at one of the figure painting events, so they meet up at the gaming arena in Coburg, and he shows up to most of them, and he's just straight into checking out people's pieces, giving them feedback, just wants to see everything, loves the hobby, and talking to everyone about what they're painting. And then when he went past someone, I'm like, it's cool to talk to Dave, right? You met Dave before? He's like, who's Dave? And I'm like,
Are you kidding?
you've just been touched by an angel, my friend.
Yeah. There's other guys in the painting scene who chat about him, and they're just like, if he ever makes his way to a painting comp overseas, we're stuffed.
Yeah.
He's gonna win it.
If Melbourne was a little medieval village, there's a dragon on the mountain southeast, and it's Dave.
Yeah.
He's up there doing his thing.
Phenomenal. Like that, the micro dotting he does on stuff, I don't even understand it. My brain tries to work it out, and I'm pretty good at like reverse engineering a lot of stuff and being like, oh, I reckon I know how they've done this. And
Yeah.
for me, I'm just like, is he sitting there with a brush and picking out individual dots? Like, it's nuts.
I have
It's
the same
actually-
thing. When you see really good paint jobs and you're like, it looks good, but I don't even know how they did that, which technique they use. Because if I tried to do tiny slashes, it would just build up and look a bit lumpy probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you'd have like a pattern happening, and you want randomness. Crazy. There's guys out there with brushes that are just it's almost it's magical. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not scientific. They're like sold their soul to Horus or something to get dark powers with a brush.
They've spent a lot of time on it, I think. So, Australia has a few painting competitions and a few people that also help to run the painting clubs that are doing a lot for the hobby at the moment. And Dave Caldwell's one of them. There's Andy Bucks as well here and Trent Dennison up north. He helps to run Crimson Brush, which is, again, a lot of these painting competitions happen in conjunction with an event, usually a 40k tournament of some kind. In Canberra, it's CanCon, Canberra Convention, which has a bit of everything going on, a little bit of cosplay, a lot of board games going on, a lot of Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
So that's what I'd say if anyone's thinking of, will I go to a paint competition and have a good time, is you don't have to stand around the paint competition the whole time. Usually there's a lot going on that weekend.
Yep.
And as we said, here in Melbourne, we've got Arc Fest and Arc Open, all the things happening there. And if you're not too interested in any of that, we were watching the V8s go around Sandown. It was a sunny day. We were up on the top tier, the painting competition was, and all the games were happening downstairs. And you could look out at all the grass and the V8s going around on a practice day or something. It was a really cool venue and tattoos going on.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Yeah, when I go to painting competitions, you rub shoulders a bit and talk and try and learn and look at people's pieces and talk about it, but then go try and get some board games in with your friends. And
I think it's probably one of the best ways to advance your skills as a painter is to enter painting comps and then go ask questions. Like you're saying, rub shoulders and speak to people. And I don't think it happens enough. There were times where I wouldn't say it's entering a painting comp. I'd put a model in at the local games workshop and they'd give away prizes for first, and then often they would just come collect their piece and just walk out with it, like disgruntled. And it's like, you should just be asking people questions. Like,
yes,
often I was there and people would walk in and get their model and just walk out, and they wouldn't even ask who'd won because they didn't win. They're like, oh, well, I didn't win, so should be like, oh, who won? Oh, that guy. Oh, that's cool.
Well done.
Get their Instagram, ask them questions. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the competitions are probably only as serious as you want to make them.
Yeah.
So you'll see everything from someone brings their first D&D mini that they finished, right up to professional painters bringing pieces. So there's a whole range, and some of them, not Arc Open, but some of them like Crimson Brush up in Canberra will split the entries. They'll say, do you want to enter the Masters Division or do you want to enter Standard? And they'll be much harsher in the critique in Masters, or a lot more forgiving of certain things in Standard. So you can really have a crack. And the other thing that they do is an open competition as well. So where Golden Demon gives gold, silver, bronze, and then thanks for trying. These open competitions, if you achieve the same quality level, you will get a gold as well as someone else. So if you've got 80 entries or something, maybe there's 5 of them, 10 of them that were at the same quality at the top level and they all have gold. And then you could have 5 or 10, I might be doing the numbers slightly higher, silver, and then a number of bronze as well. Maybe it's 5 gold, 10
That's still pretty cool.
Silver, 20 bronze. It's nice. Yeah, it's, as you said, it's heartbreaking if you don't get first or second sometimes, especially if you're really close. So a lot of these events are open competitions and we'll give you prizes if you met the quality level, which is nice. It's a lot more accessible.
Yep. Do these painting competitions have like a criteria you need to meet in order to score high? So Golden Demon, for instance, it's sort of like heavy metal on steroids. You basically want to paint like heavy metal, but pushing it to the extreme. Non-metallics, painting textures on your pieces. But essentially, it's just painting heavy metal to the highest possible standard you can. So people complain when they go in with a piece that isn't painted to that standard, and they're like, oh, I didn't score that high. Your stuff is painted fantastically, but you're not painting by the rules that were given prior to. Do these painting competitions have a set of sort of rules they're looking for?
Definitely. There are pillars in miniature painting that you look for in things like cleanliness, which is that heavy metal style, is have you painted in a way that hasn't clogged up detail and made it a bit messy. But there are other things, like you said, is do you go the cleanliness route or do you go the artistic route? And maybe you can see some of your brush strokes, but you've got a more painterly style. And that is the other fun thing about these competitions that are not run by a company like Games Workshop, is Games Workshop has an IP to promote and a painting style that they sell. So they are very focused on that, and lore that they push as well. I think if you painted a pink Space Marine, you wouldn't do very well in Golden Demon because that's not one of the chapters.
Yep. I'd vote it high. So if I'm ever a judge at anything for painting, paint it pink, and I'll give you a high score.
And they have constraints as well, like their license agreement for Lord of the Rings. There was a really interesting Gollum piece that didn't get judged because he resculpted Gollum, and they're not allowed to do that with the IP they have. They have a sculpt, and if someone starts changing that,
I think there's I think there's a
percentage of what gets changed that I don't like.
Yeah, so there's some constraints there.
Yeah, you get at the Golden Demon. I think you get bonuses for doing conversions and stuff, but there's limits to what they want.
Yep.
Because I think a guy did almost a scratch built Emperor on the Golden Throne.
Yeah.
And he didn't score high at all, and it was a phenomenal piece. But it didn't include anything from Games Workshop. Or very, very little.
So with the IP that you're talking about, with the Golem, because obviously there's like Lord of the Rings, the movies, Lord of the Rings, the books, and then they've now like done Lord of the Rings, which goes kind of off the old style with the magic cards. So if you painted it to the magic card style Golem, would they grade that lower than sort of the movie or the box art Golem with the colours?
I think it was this guy scans their model.
Okay. Yep.
And digitally altered it. So he then printed a different Golem to what Games Workshop produces, and then sculpted the rest of it.
So it's just completely different, wasn't?
Yes.
Okay,
and I heard on a podcast somewhere that when they made all these original sculpts, they had the actors approve their own likeness. So that's what I mean is I think there's some constraints around if they were to promote and do a big thing around this piece, and it was varying from what they had agreed with.
So it's more towards the movie style of the Lord of the Rings.
Something like that. So there's a lot of freedom in, I'll say, these grassroots painting competitions to do whatever you want. You can do a squad, a big scale mini like a bust, a Titan or a Dreadnought. Because the other thing is, even if they don't split the entries into Masters and Standard, they almost always split them into different categories. So when you enter, you can say, I'm bringing a single mini, like a Space Marine Lieutenant or something. You can bring a squad of minis. You can bring a large scale, whether it's a big monster or a tank or something. And there's sometimes a couple others, but I'm blanking on what they are. So you're not competing apples and oranges in these things.
Yeah.
Is usually it's similar pieces. And
so you might luck out and bring the only large miniature.
That's definitely what people talk about in Golden Demon, is single miniature is one of the hardest to compete in. People say, oh, I'm going to go do one of the niche ones like Lord of the Rings or maybe Necromunda or something. But at a competition like that, there's no easy categories, I don't think.
No, they're all very high tier painters.
But the grassroots competitions are really friendly. If you bring what you have, you can get feedback on it, whether it's from the judges that judged it or other people around the competition. Yeah. And have a really good time.
4 people sitting on the fence about entering a painting comp. Let's say they're maybe a little bit nervous. They're worried about critique on their work, probably don't want to enter a model. How would you, what advice would you give them to get them over the line, to be like, you just got to just dive in? Because it's not as simple as just diving in. There's so many people in the hobby that are just like, oh, you just got to do it. That's cool, man. That's much easier said than done.
The classic piece of advice is don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to yourself. So that's like what I said is I brought what I had was my best pieces a year ago. And then if I look at the stuff I did this year, I like it a lot more. So last year I got a commended with one of my pieces, and this year I got a bronze for one of my single minis. So that's improvement. I'm happy with that.
So did the commended give you confidence to try new things and inspire you to want to enter more competitions?
Definitely inspired me to keep having a crack. It's like you're in sniffing distance, and you've now got a year you can go and actually paint for a competition, because I hadn't really done that before. Yeah. But I would say you don't have to do that. If you want to come along, just bring what are your favourite pieces. It's a good chance to show off a piece. Places like Arc are $30, and you can have 2 entries in every category. Or in Crimson, they say $5 per entry, so bring as many as you want. The worst case scenario is you pay $5 and Dave Colwell takes the best photo you've ever had of your mini in your life. I would pay $5 for that every day of the week.
Yeah. Or Imsy. Imagine if Imsy turned up. He took some photos of like my stuff, and I was just like, dude, how'd you do that?
Some people have the skill.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's art in itself.
So yeah, I don't want to say there's some terrible pieces. You won't be the worst. I want to say that it's a really good learning opportunity. Bring what you have and get feedback if that's what you want to do. And like I said before, it's only as competitive as you want it to be. You can get really twisted up in knots going to these, wanting to place, and people do. I do, and it's fine to be competitive, and it hurts if you don't get what you want. But you always walk away having seen some great pieces.
Yep.
If you're scared to enter, just go and have a look at what's there. People will tell you about theirs. One of the really fun things is hearing the backstories of pieces, because you don't get that always in an Instagram post, but there is so much story behind what people are trying to achieve with the piece and how hard it was and what processes they used. It's really fun seeing them and being like, I don't know what you did there, but it looks great. Can you tell me more about it? And things like that. So yeah, it's a lot of people that are really excited about what they do in the hobby. I don't think you'll have anyone telling you off for the quality of your piece. And the judges they have at these events are experienced. Some of them have been around for decades, fantastic painters, and really welcoming. So they're not going to be mean about a piece at all.
Well, quite often you'll find that the people that are doing less than you will be the ones that will be critiquing you the most. The people that are on your level or doing more than you won't be doing that.
Yeah, it's a sentiment I've seen a few times about. It's the online trolls and the sort of neckbeards at the store that stomp the noobs. Yeah. There's this mid-tier of people. Oh, it's a terrible thing to call people mid-tier, but there's a tier of people that can be negative. But the people at the top of the game that are giving back to the community, achieving great things, I think you get there by being collaborative, helping people, getting help, and having that open-minded attitude. Yeah. So there's a lot of people like that in the community.
Yeah, I still remember early in my hobby journey, and I was still painting a lot at that time. Someone came up and started giving me unsolicited advice. I wasn't asking for advice. He's like, I'd paint this way, and I'd paint this way. And to this day, this person is a Grey Army player and doesn't paint. So yeah, you don't know the person giving you advice a lot of the time either.
That's a good question at an event. Start with, would you like some advice on your piece?
Yeah.
If someone's walking around or showing, if someone shows you the piece, they'll go, are you looking for advice, or what would you like here? Like, I just want you to tell me it's good. And, it's really good.
Yeah. That's some people want validation. That's all they want.
Which is completely fair.
Yeah. But I'd be more asking questions.
Sometimes I'm just in the mood for validation.
Yeah. Your stuff's awesome though, by the way.
Your stuff is awesome.
Which is a caveat I want to put out there, is I'm going to sit here and Justin's going to make me sound like a pro. He's very kind and has a lovely community, because the first time I popped into your stream and you opened my Insta, I got like 10% more followers. Which, to be fair, I was on 50 followers, but 5 more was good.
I had 5 people watching me at the time.
10 people, yeah.
So all 5. Thank you.
So you have a wonderful community. But I'm far from the top tier painters there. I'm just happy to be part of the clubs and go in there and getting to rub shoulders with some of these really good painters.
Someone came by stream the other night. He rated me. Wasted. Thank you very much, Wasted. He had 100 people come in. He rated me with 100 people. A lot of them hung around. And he was like, I've started painting miniatures again. And then he was looking at my stuff and comparing himself.
Ooh,
and he was like, I feel like an imposter in this hobby. And you should never, ever feel that way, because, again, you're comparing yourself to someone else. And I think that we are, quite often than not, our own harshest critics. And what is a professional painter? Let's be real. What's a professional painter? Like, your stuff is very high tier. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And you shouldn't... You don't need a label. You don't need a label. You're a really good painter. So I don't even think we need to use the term pro-painted. Pro-painted is someone who sells their models. So you could be a commission painter that does 3 colours based and be counted as a pro painter.
For sure. I dump them on Facebook sometimes when I've got a lot of excess models
Well,
that I don't think I'll ever use.
Jimmy
so
D, the pro
if that
painter.
counts as pro,
Yep.
then I'm also a professional board gamer because I've resold a few board games, but
There we go.
I've never made money from it. I've just minimised my losses.
Yeah. Hey, I've done that with miniatures too. It's very hard to sell miniatures for the retail.
You'll never ever make your with how you guys paint. You would never want to add time and stuff. Like if you were to sell models as well, like I know Judd sold armies. You can't make back the
operate at a
money
loss.
with the time. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
time that you've put into it, you will never ever make your money back on miniatures unless someone specifically came to you and said, "I will pay you how much you want for an army."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
never ever going to get that money
Yeah,
back.
to this day, I still remember when I tried to sell my knights on Facebook and people laughed for what I was asking for them.
Can I ask what you're asking?
I was asking minus the 2 armigers with the auto cannons. I was asking $3,000 Australian for 3 large Imperial Knights and 2 small guys.
And what are the kits? $1,500 themselves?
It was probably pushing $1,000, probably $800. Yeah, so I was asking 2,200 for the paint job.
I mean, if you
It's-
look at hours in the
Yeah.
paint job,
People didn't want it. I did a breakdown, and I learnt that's the worst thing to do. I did a breakdown of how long I reckon they took. I did a breakdown of how many paints used, and people were like, "Why are you counting the paints that you used?" And because I come from a trade, I'm like, because I bought 100 paints and used 100 different paints. That's $660.
do you use synthetic or sable hair brushes?
Sable.
Well, there's another $100 of brushes you probably burnt on those. It's yeah, for sure. And like I've never really done any. I have never done any commission painting, but
I've priced some commissions.
have?
I'm yet to do
and
one.
people said no.
Yeah. Well, one person was like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll get back to you." They did not get back to me.
It's just hard because the number of minis you need for an army, and the time one mini takes. Even minimum wage, you'd be $50 per space marine. You
Oh, it's
multiply,
nuts.
and you're losing money on materials then as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how it stacks up. I've never done it.
Yeah, there's a level of the guys that do it quickly with the airbrush. Like you see them, the European dudes, a lot of guys in the UK that do it. So you can understand how they can sort of make a job from it. But the way I paint, the way you paint, you're probably only going to end up getting a commission job when it comes to like a warband or a hero or something like that, something small. So
I'm a real tinkerer and a futzer when I paint as well. Like I don't really have a recipe that I stick to because I'm not often painting in bulk. So that's not a very suitable approach for someone getting commission because they want to minimise cost. You want to pump it out quickly and get it to them.
yeah. Yeah. That's enough about miniatures. Let's talk about this here. We've got
yeah.
props. This is one of the first time we got props in. What have we got here?
So as part of my plan to come on here and be super subversive
Yep.
and say, hey, how about you guys paint bigger scale and this and that, I also, because a lot of your content is 40K stuff.
It is.
And
being the best Warhammer Space Marine 2 streamer
oh yeah,
in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me.
And being really friendly and awesome. But I haven't played a lot of big games. I was saying when I had that Eldar army when I was 13, I think I got through half of a game in 4.5 hours, and I don't think I've ever finished a game of 40K. So it's something that's probably beyond how much I want to paint the models and how much time I have to get a game in. So skirmish games I find fantastic from an accessibility point of view because often it's 6 to 10 or 12 models, and that's good because it's a bit cheaper. You can often buy just one box of models and have a whole team. You can customize it a bit more if you want a kit bash. It's a little bit more accessible because you need less pieces and the time to paint the whole squad. So if you want that satisfaction of finishing the projects and you've only got to get through 12 models, it's better from that point of view.
Yep.
Usually I get through about 2 models and then move on to the next thing. So I'm even a small scale skirmish game, I'm not great at closing the deal, but I find it really accessible. And I also like to play my games a bit like I like to play my board games and watch my movies, which is never do the same thing twice and experience different styles and things. So with the state that indie games and skirmish games are in at the moment, there is just dozens coming out every month. There is so much out there, and because they're coming from the minds of small creators, they're really different to each other.
Yep.
So if you look around, you can find something that sparks your creativity. That was a big thing for me, is you find these different games that have this different setting and you think, oh, I can make a faction for that and that'll be really cool. So there's a lot of fun, different reasons that they would be more accessible, and playtime is lower as well.
Yep.
Some of the really popular ones I'll say really popular, and by that I mean some of the Games Workshop ones that people might be familiar with is Necromunda. You've played that?
Yeah. Yep.
Played your Necromunda?
Necromunda
Yeah, I
is
love
fantastic.
Necromunda.
Like you were saying, minimum sort of, you want to be looking at 7 guys. Although they brought out the Spire Hunters, and I think that's like 3 maybe. Yeah, 3
They're
or
cool
4.
suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you would lose a lot of games if you played with those, but yeah, so you sort of start off at minimum 7 with Necromunda. However, it is very board dependent. So you could play on the cardboard that they give you, which is still cool. Like, it's fantastic. I think you use that for the Zone Mortalis missions. I don't think you can use that for the Mechanicus missions because there's like a more open battlefield, and then you've got the maze one. So yeah, I can financially, Necromunda from Games Workshop can be a bit more expensive than other little intro indie games for sure.
I was about to say it's cheaper for scenery, because sometimes you only need to fill a 22 by 30 inch board
Yeah.
for a game like Warcry and Kill Team.
Yeah.
But that last Necromunda box that came out was about 450 Australian dollars and came with 5 or 6 Duplox blocks that you make the terrain out of.
Yeah. They're getting up there. They're getting up there.
Oh yeah.
I want to do a bit. Can you pass me the middle book, Matt? The Space Station Zero book? Alright. I want to, you know what I want to do is I want you guys to close your eyes.
Oh, okay.
And I want you to, yeah, you don't have to, but we can pretend.
I'll do it. Am I closing my eyes?
Yeah. I'm going to read you the intro to Space Station Zero.
This is the
Because what I
first.
wanted to do was
For
highlight...
people listening on Spotify, our eyes are closed.
Okay. Because what this is a science fiction space station, and you are making a team to go and explore. And there's 20 or 30 missions, and you randomly determine which ones you go to next. But you're versing automated enemies, so as robots. So you can work with a friend. You just double the amount of robots.
Can I work with Mark?
You can. It's co-op versus AI.
Okay.
Right.
And here's the setting. It says, cultures, given enough timeline, and regardless of the species, always invent some method of breaking the impenetrable barrier of the speed of light. They eventually begin to spread throughout the stars near their planet of origin. These methods of faster than light travel, are never perfect. All of them have a chance of failure, no matter how small. When ships jump or warp or fold or whatever it is, and the process fails, most of the time they're torn to atoms and scattered across the unfeeling universe. But sometimes they find themselves billions of light years from where they started and in close orbit to an alien space station. Their communication system crackles to life. Space Station Zero, we will accept you. Please dock. And they glide into this immense ship dock. They find themselves, they are not the first ship to arrive. Dozens of ships have come to rest over time. Their inhabitants created a small and safe bastion of civilization. That's where I might stop reading. But if you have a look at the art, I don't know if you have the cover that I sent you a picture of, or I can hold it up for the camera.
Yeah, hold it up for the camera. Yeah.
It has a very pixely, cutesy sci-fi style, which one of the reasons I really like some of these skirmish games is that they give you a chance to explore very far from Gothic Warhammer styles, if that's not necessarily your preference, or if you already have just 5 Space Marines, then you've got enough models to play this game.
Well, it sounds to me like this indie game was trying to draw upon any sci-fi. Like if you were
100%.
involved with Warhammer, then you'd be able to play. Or if you've got, I don't know, models from Fallout or any type of gaming system.
Yeah, at one point I pulled out 6 bloodletters and made an all melee alien team. and you sort of choose what ship they were. Were they a commerce ship or a warship or a pirate ship? And that gives some buffs, and you pick how to kit out your leader. So I had 6 bloodthirsters next to 6 Space Marine fighting essentially 20 Necrons and running around the map doing the objective. So that's one of the big things is often if you have a few Warhammer models, you've got enough to play one of these skirmish games. This one is $15 or something, so not a lot, but some of them are as little as nothing. A lot of these games will have miniatures they can sell you, but they will put the rulebook out for free.
Yep.
So I saw one as, I don't want to say janky to the poor creator, but the whole rulebook was written in Notepad text file. It was a war game, and they used dashes and lines to make boxes, and it was just written in a pure text file format, which was very endearing. So people are just taking their creativity and creating a rule set. And as I said, if you're someone that doesn't watch the same movie twice, you don't have to play the same game twice. If you run around the internet and explore and find all these different things that you want to play.
Yep. Crazy.
It is.
This is something I was considering once we have the setup for the hub, that we were going to try and play a Space Marine 2 campaign on the tabletop. So what happens in a video game and try and make it happen on a tabletop. And it sounds like there could be potentially some rules in one of these to be able to replicate that somehow.
That'd be cool.
I've done a lot more reading of the rulebook than I have playing of a lot of these.
Yeah.
And like I said, making 2 dudes and being like, I'm going to go do something else now. But when you read this, I thought you could have Tyranids. They might be like a biomass race that somehow crashed here, or I've got a couple of Votan. I'm like, they're a very space Hulk exploring sort of race, the Votan, so they would work great on this. And there's another game there actually by the same people called Rain in Hell, which tells a story that sometime in the Middle Ages, a peasant captured a little impish demon and interrogated it and found out how hell was getting onto Earth. And they closed the gateway, so now hell doesn't have the souls it needs as a currency, and it's gone to crap. So there's these different factions in hell that are trying to reign supreme, and some of them, one of the thoughts I had was it was earthbound demons, because they got the big ones that rule and the ones that do the money and the ones that are the ferry demons that take you across the river, and there was these earthbound demons that really miss Earth because they were like I don't know, maybe the pixies in the forest or something. So I thought you could use some Warhammer Dryads and make a team out of that. So I definitely find a lot of these very much get the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, it sounds like you're limited by your own imagination with the indie type of games. They're a little bit vague, so you can construct your own story.
Yeah, a lot of them are what they call miniatures agnostic, so they encourage you to use whatever model you like.
Yep.
But some of them also have miniatures you can use.
Yeah.
I know this company, North Star Miniatures or something, because they do the boxes for Stargrave and Frostgrave, which is a space and a fantasy sort of skirmish game. And they're actually pretty good value. If you're looking for a slightly more budget option, you'll get 20 hard plastic on a sprue models where you can swap out the arms for $55 or $60 Australian. So it's a lot of dudes, 20 in a box, and it's the same 28mm scale as Warhammer. So if you have some old Empire sitting around, you can kit bash as much as you want.
That's cool. Yeah.
Have you got an indie game that you've discovered that you think is your favourite, even if you haven't played them? Because you've said you've read a lot of the rules.
Yeah,
is there a rule set that you have come across and you're like, oh, this one's actually really cool?
More often I play the game and I'm like, I'm not super into it.
Yeah.
Space Station Zero is the one I've played the most. It has a really interesting system where, unlike Warhammer, where you have to roll 4 or 5 or higher, it's odds are failures and evens are successes. So if you got body armor, you have to roll higher than 6, so it just drops how many evens are successes, and a lot of games have unusual systems like that. In fact, I've already started thinking about the next topic for our next podcast, which is activation systems in these games. Because 40k is I move my army, you move your army, and then a lot of the skirmish games are I move one guy, you can react and move another guy.
Yeah.
But some of these games get a bit more wild with moving multiple dudes at once or randomizing who gets to do it when. So there's probably I don't want to set a bar for myself. There's probably 12 different ways that they activate models in unusual ways. So that's the other thing is you can...
This has been recorded, so the bar's been set.
12. I have to find 12.
This has been recorded. Random. There'd be people out there that would freak out with a random activation. They wouldn't. There'd be like guys that are into that structured 40k.
Yeah.
Because I know there's people out there that have played 40k and they go to Age of Sigmar, and when it comes to the roll off for the turn, they're just like, I got a what? And they're just like, well, there's tactics involved in setting your army up for what's going to happen. Yeah, like you want to set your army up in case you lose the next turn, or close enough so that if you did get the next turn, then you could get your charges off. So, like, there's that added element of tactics involved. I wonder how the added element of tactic would be involved with a random activation.
The one I'm thinking of, I think, is a World War II game, and to simulate the fog of war, you just put a chip that represents your squad in a bag, and you just pull something from the bag and see which squad activates. That was going to be my big surprise for the list. That was going to be my number 12. Isn't this the craziest way to activate units? But
like a poker chip.
Yeah, you just maybe you could just write the squad's name on it.
Yeah.
But when you pull it out, you're like, oh, you go again. This time you do your rifleman. And you're like, oh, I wanted to move my artillery first because now when I move my rifleman, they're going to get shot as well or something. It tries to represent the fog of war and communication in World War II, so you never know which unit's going to go where when.
It would represent not being able to get comms out to someone.
And Rain in Hell, which uses a D12, is you get one for every model that you have and every model your opponent has, and you just roll them, and then you just put them in order. So if you roll all ones, you move your whole team first, or you roll a few low numbers, they roll a few middle, so you're activating 3, 3, 2. It's a lot of interesting systems like that.
Yep. Yeah, see, Necromunda's the one where it's like, I activate, you activate. And then bringing in the video game version of Necromunda that I played, it was an initiative. So everyone had an initiative. If you had a big, heavy weapon, your initiative was low. But if you were like a fast Escher combatant with like a pistol and a sword, they'd often go before everyone else.
So you swap back activating the fast guys, and then everyone goes to activating their medium guys?
Well, it was just like you had a number for your initiative. So you could have all the higher initiatives and have your whole squad activate before someone else, which is pretty cool in itself.
That's good. I never played Necromunda, so that's on the list.
Well, that's not on the Necromunda. That's in the video game. On the tabletop, it is quite literally just back and forth. But it still, that in itself makes you think about how you need to combat someone. Like you might charge someone, fight him in combat, but then someone else will countercharge you with another unit. So yeah, I missed out on Arcmunda last week. My friends went and they said it was absolutely fantastic. So next time, hopefully I get to go to my first ever solo event. We'll see.
Is it what's solo event? How does that work?
Just like going by yourself. Like
sure.
I've gone to events that are like 2v2s, so
Yep.
I get to play with one of my friends, and I don't have to be so nervous. But yeah, one day I'll go by myself and have to roll dice just by myself. Whenever I'm not confident with my rules, that's when I'm like, I don't want to go to an event. I'm not confident with my rules. But there's people that go that have never played before, and they, it's crazy.
Just like a painting competition.
Yeah, just got to have that confidence, right?
Yes.
I think on that note, guys, it is getting pretty warm in here, and we've made it to an hour, which is fantastic. That's what we aim for. It's probably about 30 plus degrees in this room right now.
It's warm.
It's quite warm. We're starting to perspire.
I'm probably going to remove skin when I stand up off the couch, I reckon.
So it sounds like Jimmy's returning for a second podcast already. He's got homework to do find.
We've got busts we've got to paint.
We've got busts to paint. You've got 12 different activation systems to find out there.
We just bought 4 of them, so I'm in trouble.
I'm sure you can find 8 more. So again, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back in a fortnight. So December something December.
7?
Yeah, it might be 7. Yeah, and then I think we've got another one after my Christmas breakup.
Ooh, on the same day as your Christmas break.
No, after. after the Christmas break up. So I could be under the weather. We'll see. Again,
You mean
thank
like
you guys.
hours after your Christmas
No,
break
no,
up?
no, like the day after.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
if it's
the day
straight after,
day
that'll be a good podcast.
I was going to say, we'll go to the pub and all afternoon.
Or just do the podcast from the pub, yeah. with my mates from work. But thank you guys. We'll be back in a fortnight, and just stay tuned actually for the painting charity model, because we'll have a link for that soon. So hopefully I can sell the most tickets and win. And hopefully you can win my model as well out there. All you need is one ticket. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Catch
you.
you later.